Hey everybody, it is Mike Petralia Trags back with the latest installment of the Code Reds podcast on the CLNS Media Network. My sincere pleasure to welcome back Annie Sabo from Reds Live and FanDuel Sports Network, of course doing a great job on the Cincinnati Reds before, during, and after Reds games on the FanDuel Sports Network for 2025. First of all, Annie, let me say for the record, I am very glad you are back on the network bringing us Reds news and information. I'm very happy about that, as are, I'm sure, all of our viewers and listeners.
Yes, thank you so much for saying that. I'm happy to be back too. It's been a fun one game I've done so far, but looking forward to the season. It's going to be a fun one, I feel.
Well, it's certainly off to a unique feel, and there's obviously no shortage of topics to discuss. And because it's most pressing and the most recent, as we record this here on Tuesday, Monday night, the Torpedo bats are all the rage. The news broke over the weekend, of course, in Yankee Stadium, the Anthony Volpe bat. That's what I'm going to call it, not the Torpedo bat, but the bat that was designed by an MIT physicist to help out one Anthony Volpe get to his sweet spot in his swing a little bit quicker. That bat has really taken off, and it's become actually controversial because there are those who feel David Portnoy of Barstool, I don't know if you saw his rant on social media on Monday, but he thinks it's giving an unfair advantage to hitters this early in the season. Do you have any thoughts or feelings about how that bat has been implemented into the game of baseball?
Well, first and foremost, I don't think the Torpedo bat was a storyline that we all anticipated heading into this season. But to Dave Portnoy's point, if it was giving hitters such an unfair advantage, one, why would it be legal? And two, why would Aaron Judge not be choosing to use the Torpedo bat? So answer those questions, right? So it's completely legal. Your question was, sorry, Trags, like just my thoughts on the topic in general.
Yeah, because I think so many people are talking about it at both a local level regarding their own team and nationally what this means for the sport of baseball. Here's where I think it becomes an issue. If statistics, and you and I both know that stats have always driven the game of baseball and the perspective of baseball. If it alters statistics in a way that is unnatural or unseemly, I think baseball is going to have a problem on their hands, and I think they're going to feel like they need to address it. However, if the pitching eventually catches up to the hitting, and Terry Francona said several times on Monday, I think it's more about where the pitches are located than who's swinging the bat and what the bat is specifically. I do think that baseball has to address it if the numbers continue to be astronomical.
Agreed, and I think they will, but it's kind of to the point, I mean, like of juiced baseballs. I mean, how long did it take for that to be addressed? I mean, it seems like there isn't an issue with the bats so far. I mean, I'm glad that Elly has used it for one game, seemingly worked for him. I thought it was so funny that in his press conference after the game on Monday, he said, yeah, I just decided to use it in batting practice and seemed to work, and then proceeds to hit 2 home runs and record 7 RBI. But, I mean, it's Elly doing Elly things. I'm not necessarily all that surprised. No, I mean, I think as of right now, the sample size is too small. We just finished opening day weekend. It's the first full regular week of the regular season in 2025. I think, to your point, yeah, I mean, if the numbers are so astronomical, then maybe they address it. But I feel like dating back to last season, even the year before, Major League Baseball has belonged to the pitcher, right? Batting averages across the sport have been down. I mean, fans, for the most part, want to see home runs. They want to see runs scored. I mean, if it's deemed legal and everyone has access to it, I don't see what the problem is, personally, for me.
I think there's a fine line baseball has to walk here because they've done, I think, a terrific job of speeding up the games. And anybody, I mean, first of all, I believe like the 20-9 game at Yankee Stadium on Saturday between the Brewers and Yankees was something like 3 hours and 2 minutes long. It wasn't very long for 29 runs being scored. And then on Monday night, 17 runs scored, the Reds scoring 14 of those runs, and the game was like 223. That's unheard of, Annie, for that many runs to be scored that quickly. So my long-winded point here is that baseball has addressed the speed element. Now maybe they're getting a little bit of a boost early in the year. Usually when pitching dominates, they get a little bit of boost with some offensive numbers, bring more fans out to the park. Because let's face it, I think when numbers are being or runs are being put on the board, I think more people are going to watch. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Major League Baseball for years has always tried to cater towards the younger generation, younger fans. And I think if you're scoring more runs, putting more home runs on the board via this torpedo bat, which basically is deemed legal, it's just shifting the location of the barrel of the bat, which in my honest opinion, I mean, who cares if it's just shifting the barrel of shift the barrel of the bat all the way to the top of your bat. I mean, it doesn't matter to me personally. I just think it's going to be interesting, to your point, to see what the data says, midway through the season, if a lot of teams pick up this torpedo bat. I know I heard from someone, or maybe it was online, the Braves have recently put in an order for these bats. We'll see after Elly how many of the Reds start to use these. I mean, but I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Jose Trevino said he did use it in spring training and he wasn't completely sold on it. So I think it's not like every single player is going to use it and they're going to hit 60 home runs in a season. I think it's just a personal preference. However, you can put the barrel on the bat the easiest for, your height, weight, and stature. You're going to choose to use that type of bat. End of story.
So what I find interesting about the story is it's always about working around the rules in baseball. It always has been that way, Annie, right? I mean,
every sport's that way.
Yeah, that's true. Most sports are that way, but particularly in baseball, when rules are written about height and weight and diameter of the bat, well, there are ways to get around that if you think outside the box, like an MIT physicist is wont to do. Think outside the box. Well, if we move the sweet spot of the bat closer to the handle, we're not changing the weight of the bat, we're not changing the height of the bat, and we're not even really changing the width of the bat, the diameter of the bat. And so what it does essentially is it allows players or batters to get through the swing quicker, and allows a guy like Anthony Volpe, who doesn't have a high swing speed rate when he's at the plate, to get to that sweet spot quicker. That's the whole point of the torpedo bat. But anyway, I think we've spent enough time on this. I want to spend time on Elly De La Cruz, the player, and specifically his shortstop or his double play combo in Matt McLain. Elly's night on Monday night was impressive to me for this reason, and Terry Francona brought it up. It wasn't the 436-foot homer, his second homer of the night. It wasn't necessarily the 7 RBIs. Elly's not swinging from his heels as much anymore. He's spraying the ball around the ballpark. The double to the left field, I think, impressed Terry Francona, and he said this after the game, more than any of his 4 hits on Monday night.
Yeah, I feel like a major takeaway. I was sitting with my dad last night, or Monday night, watching the game. Elly just seems more balanced at the plate from both sides. And obviously that goes a long, long way in this game of baseball. I think I looked it up before this podcast. His ability to not swing outside of the zone, which he did a whole lot last year, I believe. I mean, granted, it's been 5 games or so. I know you can't make grand assumptions based on 5 games, but swinging outside of the zone for Elly was like 15% through 5 games. And I think he spoke repeatedly during spring training, even at the start of this season. Just that's something he's been working on, not swinging at things, way above or way below or outside of the strike zone. And through 5 games, I know it's been small, but he seems a lot more disciplined in that area and just, yeah, I mean, more balanced. I mean, we know he's going to swing with all of his might at some pitches, some fastball, in the zone and going to miss. But I think this season seems a little bit more disciplined, and which is awesome because, I mean, last year, he led the league in strikeouts amongst all the amazing positive things he did. But I mean, to sustain the level of the trajectory he is on, I think you definitely have to cut out those strikeouts. And I feel like through 5 games, he's done that so far.
Early in the season, and it's such a short sample size, like you said, that is true. But we could see it in spring training, and that's, a longer sample size. And
Right.
it was the number of walks that he was working that balanced out the strikeouts in spring training. The other thing, when fans hear the word balance, and your dad knows all about this, when he says balance, really what it means is he's not shifting his weight or lunging at the ball nearly as much as he did in his first 2 seasons. He's waiting back, and very good hitters wait. And we hear so much about allowing the pitch to get deep into the hands, deep into the strike zone, and not committing to the baseball until it's just about right on top of you. Elly, because he had so many and has so many raw abilities and raw natural talent, he could sometimes get out on his front foot and still compensate and hit the ball hard wherever, or hit it over the fence. Now, because he's waiting back, he can hit more when you allow the ball to come into you more and allow the ball to travel, as they say. You can spray the ball to the opposite field. You can hit the ball all over the diamond. And I think that, to me, is one of the areas where you can really see growth in Elly De La Cruz.
Yeah, and I think on Monday, too, we saw a lot of the Reds hit the ball to the opposite field, which is something that we're not used to seeing from multiple players in the same game. So that was awesome, too. I mean, just a sign of, I don't know what BP was like on Monday, but it seemed like they were working on something, and whatever that something was, it seemed to work, and we'll see how it plays into the rest of the series versus Texas.
Matt McLain, to me, had one of the best all-around games you'll ever see on Saturday in their only win over the Giants on the weekend. But it was such a tour de force. I don't get to use that much, so I want to use it here. It was a tour de force of Matt McLain's all-around ability. Elly De La Cruz is the most electric, dynamic player on the Reds. Matt McLain is the most polished and I think best all-around player on the Reds, and that is certainly no slight to Elly. But when you watch Matt McLain play the game, the way he fields, the way he gets rid of the ball when he throws the ball from second base, whether it's on the shortstop side of the bag, whether it's taking over on a 4-3 double play, ranging to his left into short right field to make a play, and then what he's able to do at the plate. It is a lot of fun for me to watch Matt McLain. And I'm wondering if your dad, when you were talking to him about, or when he was talking about Elly De La Cruz, I wonder if he has any thoughts on Matt McLain.
No, he's always said, I mean, Matt McLain is my dad's favorite player on the current Reds just because of how sound he is defensively and what he's able to do at the plate for being such a small guy. I mean, a small built guy, but he's just a solid player, not a flashy guy like Elly, right? Not going to celebrate after a home run or anything. He just kind of does his own thing. And I think my dad can relate to his style of play. But to your point, I mean, for Matt McLain not being huge, the range he's able to show to either side of the plate is unbelievable. He's so quick. Elly is fast, but I think Matt McLain is quick. And
yes,
I mean,
great point.
Yeah, I think, we all applaud Elly for his speed, but I mean, Matt McLain and his quickness leads to accuracy, throwing to first base, throwing everywhere. I mean, it's so much fun to watch those two together. And I mean, if they do have great seasons, I mean, they're going to be the talk not only of the NL Central, but all of baseball, that 1-2 tandem in the middle of the infield.
And for the last couple of years, Annie, and you know this as well as anyone, one of the things that I think has really been weak for the Reds has been their defense in general, but their range specifically on the infield. They haven't been able to get to as many ground balls and turn as many double plays. And that's, again, no slight to Jonathan India, who I think did a very solid job at second base. But when you put two elite players, arguably your two best players, up the middle on the infield, that's another reason I think the Reds really wanted to keep Elly De La Cruz at short.
Yeah, and I think too, I mean, I know, like I said, it's been only a handful of games, but I really don't remember the Reds turning the amount of double plays that we've seen through these 5 games at the rate that they've done it last season. I don't know. I know I don't necessarily cover the whole season on the air, but just the efficiency, their ability to turn double plays at ease this year just feels a little bit different to me. And maybe the fans can relate to me, but it just seems effortless. But maybe that is simply because Matt McLain is back. I don't know.
Well, I think a big part of it is because Matt McLain is back. I think this team has a certain air about itself and confidence when McLain and Elly are playing 1-2. And that's what I think fans saw in 2023 when they got that boost and really started to make a run towards or charge towards the wild card in 2023. Yeah. There was that energy, and it's an intangible, but it is an intangible that matters. When teams play with energy and confidence, like they're always going to be in the game, even the 2 games they lost against the Giants. Let's talk about Sunday's game.
They were never out of the game. I feel like so much last season, they were completely out of the game. And you said, and you know, it might have been the 7th inning, but based on the way the offense had played all season, you were like, well, I'm not sure if they can manufacture 3 more runs. However, in the Giants series, even on Sunday, you were like, there were chances where they could have tied the game. You still felt the energy. You still felt there was a chance they could tie it.
4-0, Robbie Ray throwing a perfecto through 5, and you're like, okay, this isn't their day. And all of a sudden, and Matt McLain played a part in it, of course, in the bottom of the 6th inning, I believe it was, when they finally broke through. They score 3 runs like that. And
you're like, whoa, that's different.
Well, that is different. That's exactly right, Annie. And you didn't see that last year. And you really haven't seen that in a long time from the Reds. And for them to be able to exhibit that, demonstrate that in the early portion of the year, it does matter. That's when people say, well, you know, we're 4 or 5 games into the season. What does it matter? We have to have a bigger sample size. Well, it does matter if you demonstrate good habits from the start of the season, because that stuff will carry forward.
I agree with you. And I feel like even though they lost the opening series against the Giants, who, I mean, they play in a really tough division. I don't necessarily think they're a bad team, but I felt like leaving that series heading into Texas, I felt more optimistic than maybe I have in the past about this team. I mean, granted, I know it's 5 games. Everyone's like, you can't make assumptions about 5 games. However, yeah, I mean, you feel differently. You feel like no matter what hole the Reds might find themselves in, they'd be able to rally back like a lot of the things we saw in the 2023 season when they were still, you know, in that wild card race until like the final week of the season. So I find similarities maybe between this team and the 2023 team, just in terms of their willingness to play like solid baseball defensively, pitching, I mean, hitting. I mean, I think ultimately it's going to come down to the health of the starting rotation and bullpen, but we can get to that at a later date. But I just feel different about this year.
Well, speaking with Annie Sabo of FanDuel Sports Network and Reds Live, pre and post game on the FanDuel Sports Network, let's talk about that pitching, Annie. That's another area where I think the Reds are much deeper this year. All due respect to Frankie Montas and the 2024 Reds, this rotation is legit deep, and we're not even a full way through the first turn in the rotation as we record this podcast, but I can tell you that the idea of having Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Nick Martinez, who was perfect through 4 innings on Sunday, we might add, then Brady Singer on Monday night, and Carson Spires goes tonight as we record this Tuesday night. I all of a sudden get a feeling the Reds can expect to win every single night. They're not going to win every night, but when you throw good starting pitching out there every night, that matters. We've seen it over the course of the last 5 to 6 years with the Milwaukee Brewers, who, by the way, we see what happens when the Brewers don't have starting pitching.
Yeah.
Yikes. But with the Reds, I think there's reason with the starting pitching to feel like this team is going to be in the game every single game, or have a chance to win every single night.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel. I mean, ultimately, the worry in my mind always goes to, I hope and pray that Nick Lodolo can stay healthy, because even when in his first start, he had to battle. I mean, but he kept the Reds in the game. I mean, it was a battle for him, but I mean, 2 or 3 earned runs, I'll take that any day of the week. It's just a matter of, when he tweaks something, it's just, something's off with him, because it just goes from solid stuff all the time to maybe he's hurt, or maybe he's dealing with something. So I think for him, I just so hope that he's able to stay healthy this season, and maybe, his off-season training program will really help him into this year. But I think, what we saw from Brady Singer, again, no disrespect to Jonathan India whatsoever. I personally loved Jonathan India, but I just felt like that was the right move, just with Matt McLain coming back. I just didn't feel like there was a right fit for India on this team anymore, and I wish him the best success in Kansas City.
Scary moment, by the way, Sunday from Emmanuel Clase. I don't know if you saw that. I assume you did.
Yes.
And you feel for a guy like Jonathan India, who's already been through so many injuries, so much stuff in terms of being bounced around with the Reds, and what his role really was going to be. He's been through it physically and mentally, and to see him have to battle that again, my heart goes out to the guy. I love the guy. I love covering him.
He was just great. Teammate. I mean, with reporters, he was fabulous. But going back to my point, Brady Singer could also be like another X factor for me this season. I think last night he shows that you don't have to throw 98 miles per hour and blow out your arm in this game to still be effective. His sinker and four seamer are like 92, 93 miles per hour, and
working on the cutter. The cutter is really a weapon for him now. And we saw that on Monday too.
Being able to locate your pitches and be able to be durable for a team for 162 games or so is going to be huge. And I think Singer has done that in his time in Kansas City. So I think for me, that could be an X factor in this rotation. Nick Martinez, I guess, had the quote unquote worst outing, but through those 4 innings, he was great. I think it came down to a matter of, not executing a couple of pitches in the 5th or 6th inning. I can't remember. And he admitted that, but I trust Nick Martinez every start.
Yep. That's a great point, Annie.
I know that, even like the defense and the offense seems to really pick him up too. I don't know why, but I used the word workhorse the other day, because that's who Nick Martinez is. He's always going to give you his best stuff. Even if it's not, he's a guy you just can't get mad at.
I've often said this, Annie, and back me up if you agree, and that is the most important thing a starting pitcher can give you is not his ERA, it's not strikeouts, it's not the whip, it's innings. A starting pitcher who can go out and give you 6 to 7 innings every start, that saves your bullpen, which leads me to my next point. People lost their mind over Ian Jabot on opening day. I get it. It's a tough way to lose when you have the lead. You're thinking, oh, this is going to be a great storyline. Chris Sabo is the opening day Grand Marshal, and it's going to end like the 1990 season opener ended, and the 8 games after that ended with a Reds victory, and it doesn't. And it's really, it goes from 3-2 to a 6-4 loss, as a matter of fact. And people overreact on the closing situation. And somebody brought this up to Tito on before Monday's game. And that is, you don't really know what you have in spring training in terms of high leverage, tense situations, because you don't manage like that in spring. You just don't. You're looking to evaluate guys individually, but in game situations, you have to wait till the regular season. Well, Terry Francona is going through that. He went through it with Ian Jabot. Jabot had a nice bounce back a couple of days later. It was good to see that. But Emilio Pagan gets the first save of the year. I'm curious with Alexis Diaz working through his hamstring injury, how Francona works through the back end of the bullpen in close games.
Yeah, and sometimes I wonder too, in my mind, I don't know if a lot of other people feel this way. You wonder how much Alexis Diaz's hamstring injury, is it physical or is it more of a mental break? I'm not sure. Right? And
I wonder as well.
So that's something that I wonder. And I hope he comes back and is excellent and works through whatever he needs to work through mentally, if that's what he's dealing with, or physically if he's dealing with something. But I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough situation when he comes back. I mean, obviously, Tito's going to have to test him out in a real live game situation because, spring training is not real, in my personal opinion. I mean, you're kind of, you're not going through the motion. I mean, I don't want to say you're going through the motions, but you kind of are. It doesn't matter as much.
You're getting your work in. Right, it's not about the game. It's about your work. It's about getting 26 individuals ready to go north and play Major League Baseball games. It's not about what are we going to do, second and third, one out, middle of the inning, who are we going to in the bullpen, who's up and ready to go, who can get warm, cool off, get warm again and come in, as opposed to get somebody warm like Tito said on Sunday, and once he's up in the bullpen, have to get him right into the game. Those decisions aren't made in spring training.
Right. And going back to, I think that Tito has said, maybe I am wrong, that when Diaz does come back, I feel like he said that he's not necessarily right off the bat going to go with Alexis as the quote unquote singular closer. I think that something that I took from multiple of Tito's media sessions is he really likes Emilio Pagan. And I feel like he has said, not only in one media session, but expect for Emilio Pagan to be very tired at the end of this season.
He said that on several occasions, including after being presented the game ball after his first win on Saturday. What was Tito's words to Pagan as he turned around and walked back out the door? I told you you'd be tired by the end of the year, and I'm sticking with that. You're going to be tired by the end of the year. It's not about liking a guy. With Tito, it's about trust. And when you look at Emilio Pagan, there's just a character about him that Tito trusts in high-pressure situations, and he is not going to soil himself late in games worrying about, well, what if this doesn't go right? How's the manager going to feel about it? He doesn't worry about that. He just worries about going out, giving it his all, and preparing to face each batter on its own and let the chips fall where they may. I like that.
Yeah, I think Emilio is mature. I think he is like a true old pro. And again, another guy that I always trust. And I think whenever he recorded his first save, I forget which game of the San Francisco series that was.
Saturday.
Saturday, that's right.
Yes.
Jim Day interviewed him, and there's just an air of confidence to him. He trusts what he has. He trusts his stuff. Not arrogant in any way.
No.
But he just really believes in himself and knows he's able to get the job done and wants to be the guy who can get the job done in higher leverage situations. And I think that I like that. I just like Pagan. I like a lot of the guys in the clubhouse, but I just think that he is another one who, like you said, in high pressure situations, he's one person that I'm most likely going to choose or go to.
So after the game on Sunday, a game they lost, I went up to Emilio Pagan and asked him about Saturday, because I had written this on Sunday morning about him and about presenting the game ball, because it was a great story to write. And I said, Emilio, covered Tito in Boston. One guy did that, but it was a totally different type of situation. It was David Ortiz interrupted a Terry Francona press conference to complain about official scoring. And Terry Francona said, "Go away, Poppy, go away." And he was laughing about it publicly. But behind closed doors, he said, "Please don't ever effing do that to me again, because I hate being interrupted. That's not professional. That's not the way we do things." And I said that to Emilio, and I said, "That's Tito," meaning, you you can do something, and it was out of generosity. And Emilio said it was actually sorry about that, it was a team decision to designate Emilio to go in with the ball of the game he just saved and present it to Tito and have a nice public moment. And I joked with him. I said, "You're lucky he was in a good mood, and you're lucky he won the game, because you never interrupt Tito during a press conference." And I said, if he can do it to Poppy, he can do it to anybody. So
that's a good story. I like that one.
Yeah, but it sums up Tito in a nutshell so perfectly to me. He's all business. He knows how to have a good time, but when he's in his mode, in his modus operandi, if you will, you don't interrupt him. You don't bother him. Oh, and by the way, Annie, and I'm sure I may have even told you this, make sure your phone is on silent or vibrate during a press conference with Terry Francona.
That's what that was my biggest takeaway from our initial media session. When I asked you what are his tics, like what can we say, what can we ask, what can't we ask, what should I do, any like weird things, and you're like, make sure your phone is on silent. I'm like, it always is, but for whatever reason, my phone rings when my husband calls, so I need to somehow go in my settings and tone that one down. But other than that, my phone's always on silent.
So I'm not going to let you go without talking about your dad's special day on Thursday. How much fun was that to be with him and spend the whole day, I'm sure morning till midnight, if not longer, on a day like that? It just must have been such a whirlwind.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of late notice that he was going to do this whole thing. But it was awesome. I think it was my first time going to opening day as a fan and not working since I was maybe 15 or 16 years old.
Wow.
And so, and a lot warmer than I remember. I remember, going to opening days in like snow pants as a kid. So our day started, at like 7 a.m. because, my daughter wakes me up at 6:30 no matter what time a baseball game ends. 6:30 to like 10 o'clock at night. And it was awesome. I think he had a really fun time. He was definitely exhausted at the end of the day because, being on for your job or podcasting or TV, it takes a lot out of you to be on for that long. During
lights on, you're on. You know that, Annie.
Exactly. No matter what you're going through, you have to be on. So that's exhausting. But another podcast. But no, he loved being in the parade. I think that was his favorite part. He loved, getting to see all the fans come out. I don't think we never attended the parade growing up. And so that was a first for us, my sisters and I and my daughter, and maybe my mom did, but my dad was blown away by how many people were at the opening day parade and just, all of the fun things they got to do. And being at the game, he really had a great time. And we got some really nice photos by, I don't know if it was Red staff or, Enquirer staff, photos of him waving in the car. And so we have some really nice pictures, which means a lot to me for our house.
Was there any moment that stood out above any other?
I think during the parade, there was a moment where I brought my daughter to my dad in her little Sabo jersey that I had made in the car. So we got some really nice pictures of that.
It's adorable.
She doesn't understand. Someone asked me, does she understand like the magnitude of who her grandpa is? And I'm like, no, she's not even 2 yet. Maybe one day.
She understands thunderstorms, but she doesn't that's inside baseball, so to speak, joke about why we're recording on Tuesday as opposed to Monday, but go ahead.
So she left the game saying more baseball, mommy, and she calls Mr. Red baseball guy, and so she loves the baseball guy. And so she had a really fun time. And I think getting to spend that with my sisters who flew in from Florida and our entire family once again was awesome. Because like I said, as a family, we haven't been able to enjoy it since I was 15 or 16. So being able to be all together and, watching my dad have fun. Unfortunately, we wish the Reds would have won. But we just saw so many people that we grew up with and used to know. And it was really fun. He loved it.
I have back behind me, and you can't see it in one of the bookshelves, is the World Series program with his epic Game 3 swing the 8-3 win over Oakland. But I have that along with a few other Reds memorabilia over the years, which is quite substantial. Annie, this is fun. I really appreciate you taking time out. And are you going to Milwaukee?
Yes, I will be in Milwaukee doing pre and post game and sideline. So the fans will be really sick of me during that series.
But you're going to be a busy little girl
I'm
for
going
the
to be
next 4
busy
days.
and running as fast as I can to go here and there and everywhere.
Outstanding. Well, Annie, I appreciate you taking time out from a very busy schedule. Please say hi to the family for me. It really is awesome catching up with you and talking. Reds baseball will definitely have you on throughout the season again. Thank you, Annie.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right. She is Annie Sabo, does an awesome job. So much fun watching her on Reds Live pre and post game on the FanDuel Sports Network. Be sure to follow her online as well. Just a wonderful personality covering the Cincinnati Reds. My name is Mike Petralia, Trags, and thanks for downloading this episode of the Code Reds podcast on the CLNS Media Network.